Welcome to this visual explainer. Today, we are diving into something absolutely mind-bending. We're going to systematically break down the Islamic narrative of creation. We'll map the cosmos from its primordial origins all the way down to the profound, literally earth-shaking interactions between the Archangel Gabriel and Prophet Muhammad. All of this is drawn directly from foundational theological texts and historical narrations. It's a massive scale of history and metaphysics, and we're going to map the whole shebang out right here. Let's get into it.
Here is how we're breaking it down today. First, the origins of creation. Second, unveiling the angels. Third, their form, rank, and attributes. Fourth, Gabriel, the archangel. And finally, Gabriel and the prophet.
Part 1. Origins of Creation.
To really grasp the unseen, the source material anchors us right at the very beginning, and I mean the absolute beginning. The texts lay out a very specific chronological sequence. It kicks off in pre-eternity, a state where God existed entirely alone, with literally nothing else. From there, we get the creation of water and the divine throne. Then comes the pen and the preserved tablet, which is said to record all of destiny, basically everything that will ever happen. Following that, the heavens and the earth are built over a period of 6 days, and finally, at the very end of this cosmic sequence, humanity, starting with Adam, is created late on a Friday afternoon. It's a highly structured sequence that sets the stage for, well, everything.
Moving on to Part 2. Unveiling the Angels.
Okay, so now that the universe is built, the narrative populates it with its first conscious beings. According to a famous hadith, or prophetic narration, angels are created from pure light. This is in stark contrast to humans, who the texts say are made from clay, and the jinn who are made from a smokeless fire. This isn't just some poetic metaphor, guys. In this theology, this is considered their literal biological makeup. It completely explains why they exist right alongside us, but totally beyond our human perception.
So, that brings up a really crucial point about some common historical misconceptions. Specifically, we need to look at an ancient pre-Islamic Arabian belief about the gender of these celestial beings. You see, the people back then constantly tried to assign human genders to the unseen.
But the Quran explicitly shuts this down. As you can see in this quote, it heavily criticizes the idea that angels have genders or are somehow the daughters of God. The texts constantly warn against our very human tendency to project our own worldly metrics, like biology, gender, or family structures, onto the metaphysical realm. These are light-based entities. They are entirely devoid of human biological traits.
All right, Part 3. Form, rank, and attributes.
To truly wrap our heads around the physical forms and the mind-bending scale we're dealing with here, we just need to look at one single number: 700. This number represents the scale of a very specific group of angels known as the carriers of the throne.
And what's truly staggering is the sheer size this represents. The texts describe these specific angels as so incomprehensibly massive that a bird in flight would have to travel continuously for 700 years just to cross the distance from the angel's earlobe down to its shoulder. Think about that for a second. It's a totally jaw-dropping way of telling us that the unseen world operates on a physical magnitude our human brains can barely even process.
Beyond their immense size, these beings have some extremely unique attributes. The texts tell us they have wings. Some have 2, 3, 4, or even more. And because they're completely free from human frailties, they don't eat, they don't drink, and they don't reproduce. They literally never tire or sleep. Zero downtime. On top of that, they operate within a strict, highly organized hierarchy. Interestingly enough, the texts note that the absolute highest rank among all the angels goes to those who descended to support the believers during the historical Battle of Badr. So their rank is actually tied directly to their actions and their support of humanity.
That brings us to Part 4, Gabriel, the archangel. Now let's zoom in on the absolute pinnacle of this hierarchy. The very name Jibril, or Gabriel in English, holds some really deep meaning. The sources explain that it's derived from Hebrew roots, Jibrar meaning servant or man, and El meaning God. So it literally translates to the servant of God. And honestly, that perfectly summarizes his unique purpose. He is the ultimate conduit of revelation, the literal bridge between the divine and the prophets, and he's frequently called the trustworthy spirit.
Now, while standard angels might have 2 to 4 wings, Gabriel's anatomy is vastly different. It's represented by this staggering figure right here: 600.
According to the narrations, the Prophet Muhammad actually reported seeing Gabriel in his true, unshielded angelic form. He described Gabriel as having 600 wings, and these wings were so incredibly immense that they physically blocked out the entire horizon. The text even mentioned that from these wings fell magnificent colors, likened to rubies and pearls. I mean, it's a display of just unmatched cosmic majesty.
So the crucial takeaway here is that Gabriel isn't just some peaceful messenger passively delivering mail. He is the commander of the angels and an entity of terrifying, world-ending power. The texts literally describe him as the destroyer of wicked nations. To give you an idea of this power, it's recorded that he uprooted the 7 corrupted cities of Lot's people, literally lifting them, their houses, and their lands high into the sky, using just the tip of one of his 600 wings, and then he turned them upside down. Just the tip of one wing.
Let's move to part 5, Gabriel and the Prophet.
This leads us to how this horizon-blocking cosmic being actually interacted directly with a mortal man. Obviously, you can't interact with humanity in a form that massive without completely overwhelming them, right? So Gabriel frequently shapeshifted. Muhammad actually only saw his true angelic form twice. Far more commonly, Gabriel took on a human form, frequently appearing as a remarkably handsome companion of the Prophet named Dihya al-Kalbi. At other times, he'd appear as a completely unrecognized Bedouin traveler, just walking right into a gathering to ask the Prophet questions and teach the onlookers about their religion.
Their relationship wasn't just some brief encounter either. It spanned decades. It began when Muhammad was just a 4-year-old child, where the texts say Gabriel physically purified the boy's heart. It continued all the way to the intense first revelation, through high-stakes battlefield-supported barter, and it ultimately culminated in Gabriel and Muhammad reviewing the entire text of the Quran together during the very year the Prophet died.
Now, the sheer physical intensity of their first major encounter as adults in Cave Hira is incredibly striking. Gabriel didn't just appear and politely hand over a scroll. No, he approached Muhammad, grabbed him, and physically squeezed him so tightly it was exhausting, and he commanded him Iqra, which translates to read. He did this 3 times before delivering the first verses of the Quran, violently and dramatically initiating the dawn of Islamic revelation.
But we also see this profound, almost balancing dynamic between the two of them. Later on, when the people of the city of Taif violently attacked and stoned the Prophet, Gabriel descended with the angel of the mountains. Gabriel offered to literally obliterate the city by crushing it between 2 massive mountains, but Muhammad, demonstrating his role as a mercy to the worlds, declined Gabriel's offer. He chose instead to pray that their descendants might one day believe.
The direct era of worldly revelation ended with the Prophet's passing. This was a moment described as one of immense grief for his companions, because their direct connection to the heavens was suddenly severed. Yet the theological texts indicate that Gabriel hasn't abandoned the world entirely. He still silently descends to earth once a year, leading a host of angels on Laylat al-Qadr, or the Night of Decree, during the month of Ramadan.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you to ponder this final question. We've just mapped out a vast, unseen cosmos populated by beings of pure light and terrifying power. If the visible era of revelation has indeed ended, how does this unseen architecture continue to quietly shape the faith, the prayers, and the daily actions of billions of people today? It's a fascinating testament to how the ancient narratives of the unseen continue to powerfully influence our seen world. Thanks so much for exploring this with me today.